Hello and welcome to my video series about the hero's journey. Last time we talked about the ordinary world, and the call to adventure, and crossing the first threshold. Today we're going to talk about what happens after the hero leaves their ordinary world and starts on their journey. Now in Campbell's Hero with 1,000 Faces, which I've got right here, he talks about a stage called the Belly of the Whale, which takes place at the end of the ordinary world before they start what he describes as the Road of Trials. Honestly, I tried to wrap my head around this stage for y'all, I really did. So the Belly of the Whale stage is the point of no return when the character is fully immersed in the world of adventure that they've arrived in. They can't go back to their ordinary world, they have to go onward. The typical example of the Belly of the Whale is Jonah from the story of Jonah and the whale in the Bible, and that's where it takes its name from. As far as applying it to the 5 stories that I've been analyzing though, The Wizard of Oz, The Hunger Games, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, The Lord of the Rings, and the first Star Wars movie, I'm really not sure what to make of it. I'm not seeing a Belly of the Whale stage in those. Maybe there is one. There are probably better videos out there to learn about the Belly of the Whale stage and particularly how it applies to modern stories, popular stories. This is not that video. However, I can talk to y'all about the Road of Trials and then what Christopher Volger calls the Approach the Inmost Cave stage of the story. So the Road of Trials, they've left the ordinary world behind, they've crossed the threshold, possibly they've gone through the belly of the whale, and then they are on the road. And the story follows them on the road as Volger's name for this stage is tests enemies and allies, so as they make friends, as they make enemies, and as they undergo various tests that challenge them in different ways. I think the most kind of obvious example of this in a very literal way is the yellow brick road in The Wizard of Oz. Dorothy follows the yellow brick road to the Emerald City. She meets the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion. They have adventures together, they face challenges. Obviously, they've made an enemy in the Wicked Witch of the West. So that's like a very literal, like it's literally a road that they're following. But it doesn't have to be a literal road. For example, the time that Katniss Everdeen spends in the Capitol and in the arena during the Hunger Games, that's also the Road of Trials. She's not literally on a road once she gets off of the train. I suppose you could consider the train to be a kind of road. She's stuck in one place, but she's going through a lot, she's making allies, she's making enemies, and she's facing many challenges. So all of that counts as the Road of Trials right up until towards the very end of her time in the arena. Or another non-literal example where they stay in one place but it's still the Road of Trials would be Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Now, that's not to say that all of the Harry Potter books work that way, because, for example, Deathly Hallows has a very literal Road of Trials where they are on a journey, they're on that long extended camping trip and whatnot. But in Sorcerer's Stone, it's his time at Hogwarts, being sorted, learning to play Quidditch, facing different challenges in his classes. He makes friends with Ron and Hermione. He makes an enemy in Draco Malfoy. He faces some pretty mild challenges compared to the stuff that happens later, but things like the troll on Halloween or the thing with the Remembrall when they're learning to fly, those count as the Road of Trials. In Star Wars, they're leaving Tatooine, they've met Han Solo who becomes their friend, they're being pursued by stormtroopers, they find that Alderaan was destroyed. Again, that's the Road of Trials. In this case, it's a literal journey, but not a road. And then another case of a literal journey would be The Lord of the Rings, where they've been tasked to take the ring to Mordor and destroy it. So the Road of Trials is a stage that can take on many different forms, and it'll look very different depending on the story, depending on whether they're taking a literal journey or whether they're just facing a series of challenges. And then finally, when they get to the end of the Road of Trials, they will face a stage of the hero's journey that Christopher Volger described as Approach the Inmost Cave. The best example that I can give you of that is Harry, Ron, and Hermione going beneath the trapdoor. They're not facing off against Voldemort and Quirrell yet, or they think it'll be Snape, but of course it's actually Quirrell. They haven't gotten to that point. They haven't gotten to the Sorcerer's Stone. Now they are in this little tunnel under the 3rd floor, and there's a 3-headed dog, and there's the plant that tries to strangle them. and it's getting more and more intense, and they are quickly approaching the ordeal. That is approach the Inmost Cave. Another example would be Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, where she is approaching the Wicked Witch's castle. She's gone into the West of Oz. There are all the creepy signs that say, danger, keep out. There are the flying monkeys. Other parts of Oz were very bright and cheerful, but this part of it is terrifying to Dorothy. Again, we're getting closer and closer to the ordeal, and it's getting more and more dangerous. That's approach the Inmost Cave. One thing that I thought was very interesting when I read Christopher Volger's The Writer's Journey was he said that the ordeal is the crisis but not the climax. And I'll talk more about that later on in the next video, which will talk about the ordeal and the reward. But for now, I did want to point out, in The Writer's Journey, he actually gives Star Wars as an example of the ordeal stage, and he says that it's the Death Star, the first time that they're at the Death Star, when they're on it and they're rescuing Princess Leia, not when Luke shoots that final shot that blows it up. So in that case, being sucked into the Death Star would actually be the approach the Inmost Cave for Star Wars. For more about that distinction and why the Death Star would be the ordeal stage, see my next video when it comes up. So in this video, we started off having just crossed the first threshold from the ordinary world. We followed the road of trials, and now we are ready to face the ordeal. And that will be the next video, so stay tuned for that.